Hello students, today I am going to explain another very important section of the first lesson of the advanced level chemistry syllabus. I think you remember that we discussed about the periodic table, and after that we discussed about the periodic properties. We started the periodic properties and we discussed about the variation of the effective nuclear charge and the variation of the atomic radius. So today I am going to explain another three important atomic properties or periodic properties. Those are ionization energy, the electronegativity, and electron gain energy. Let's see what are the things that you are supposed to understand according to the new syllabus. There we started the competency level 1.5. Under that, the relationship between the electron configuration and the position of the elements in the periodic table that we discussed, and we started the periodic properties. So this lesson I am explaining today is another section which comes under competency level 1.5. I think you remember these atomic radius and variation we have already done. Today we discuss mainly about the ionization energy and its variation, electron gain energy and its variation, and electronegativity and its variation. Now in the previous part we discussed about what is meant by the ionization energy. Ionization energy is the minimum energy required to remove an electron from the ground state of a gaseous isolated atom or ion. When we define the first ionization energy, that is defined as the minimum energy required to remove the loosely bonded electron from the ground state of a gaseous isolated atom. Since it is difficult to measure the ionization energies per atoms individually, they are generally measured per mole of atoms. So one can define the first ionization energy like this: the minimum energy required to remove an electron from each atom of a mole of gaseous ground state atoms to form a mole of gaseous unipositive ions. That is how we define, since it is measured per mole. So the definition of the first ionization energy, if you are asked to define the first ionization energy, you can define it per atom. That means the minimum energy required to remove an electron which is loosely bonded to the ground state, gaseous isolated atom. Ground state of gaseous isolated atom. That can be considered as the definition of the first ionization energy. And we know that since there are atoms with more than one electrons apart from hydrogen, when it comes to polyelectronic atoms, we can define successive ionization energies as we can consider the removal of electrons one by one. When we provide energy to an atom, first electron which will be removed is the one which is loosely bonded to the nucleus. In other words, the electron which is further from the nucleus. After that you will get a unipositive ion in the gas phase. Remember, there are elements, most of them are in the solid state, 2 liquid state elements, others gaseous state, but when it comes to removal of electrons are always removed from the gas phase. So we talk about this with respect to the gaseous state. That's why here also you can see that ionization energy of an atom or ion is the minimum energy required to remove an electron from the ground state of isolated gaseous atom or ion. Always gaseous atom or ion, isolated gaseous atom or ion. So these points are important. So, ground state, isolated, gaseous. If you look at the definition of the first ionization energy, the energy needed to remove the most loosely bound electron from neutral gaseous atom. There also you have to mention the isolated gaseous atom to produce a unipositive gaseous ion. Unipositive gaseous ion. Now, when it comes to atoms with more than one electron, we can define successive ionization energies as we can remove electrons in succession. We can remove electrons one by one. So, we can define the successive ionization energies. That part we have already discussed, and we understood that pattern of successive ionization energies, and we learned that the successive ionization energy data provide us an evidence for the existence of electrons in energy levels. That was considered as an evidence for the arrangement of electrons in energy levels. Now, here we are going to discuss about the variation of the ionization energy across a period in the periodic table and down the group of the periodic table. When we move across a period, what happens to the first ionization energy, what happens to the second ionization energy, and so forth. And when it comes to a particular group, what happens to the first ionization energy or any given ionization energy when you move down the group. So, these things are discussed under this part. So, first ionization energy of an atom I can represent like this. For example, lithium first ionization energy equation like this, right. Second ionization energy is the energy needed to remove the second loosely bound electron of an atom from a gaseous monovalent cation to form a gaseous divalent cation. When you consider, for example, the same atom lithium, the second ionization energy I can represent using the equation like this. Lithium plus forming lithium 2 plus. So, that is how we define the second ionization energy. As you can see here, second ionization energy equation is given. Then ionization energies, we know that they are represented in the units kilojoules per mole. Ionization energy is the most common unit is kilojoules per mole. We can use megajoules as well, but the most common unit being used is kilojoules per mole. Since it is measured in kilojoules and represented in kilojoules per mole, it can also be defined per mole of atoms or per mole of ions, as I explained earlier. Now, ionization energies of a particular element, when it comes to successive ionization energies always increase. That means second ionization energy greater than first, third ionization energy greater than second, like that. We learned this earlier. Now, this trend or this variation is due to that each successive removal, due to when electrons are removed successively, the remaining electrons are attracted more strongly to the nucleus. There you can see with each successive removal, an electron is being pulled away from increasingly more positive ion requiring increasingly more energy. Then when it comes to inertial electrons, when electrons are removed from inertials, there is a sharp increase. That was considered as an evidence for the existence of energy levels or the arrangement of electrons in energy levels. Inertial electrons or inertials are more closer to the nucleus. That is why we experienced an increase or sharp increase or big jump in the energy when an electron is removed from an inner shell after removing all the outer shell electrons. Now, the important part here we are going to discuss is the periodic trend or the periodic variation of the ionization energy. Here we mainly focus on the first ionization energy, variation of the first ionization energy across a period and on moving down the group. The first ionization energy generally increases when we move across a period. The reason for the increase in the first ionization energy is mainly the increase of the effective nuclear charge. Remember, we learned about the variation of the atomic radius. There also we learned that increase in the effective nuclear charge causes the atomic radius to decrease. The decrease of the atomic radius across a period is due to the increase in the effective nuclear charge. The same reason can be applied here also. Ionization energy across a period, it increases due to the increase of the effective nuclear charge across a period. Atomic radius decreased, but ionization energy, the energy required to remove electrons, increases across a period when we move from left to right due to the increase of the effective nuclear charge across a period. Alkali metals, they are the group 1 elements. They show the lowest ionization energy in the particular period. When it comes to the first ionization energy, alkali metals show the lowest first ionization energy, whereas noble gases, or the group 18 elements, they show the highest first ionization energy when we move across a period. First ionization energy decreases on moving down a group of the periodic table. The reason is increase in the principal quantum number for the outermost electron. For example, when you consider ionization energies of group 1 elements, the order is like this. You can see lithium has the highest first ionization energy, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and there is a decrease in the first ionization energy on moving down the group. Now, when we consider the first ionization energies of main group elements, that is the most important one for the unit 1. Main group elements, the variation of the first ionization energy across a period, there is a particular pattern. So, I mentioned that first ionization energy increases, that is the general trend. That is due to the increase in the effective nuclear charge. But in certain places in the particular period, there are some unexpected increments or unexpected variations we can observe, that is due to, especially due to the relative stabilities of electron configuration. Relative stabilities of electron configuration, at some places the ionization energy increases than expected. It increases than expected. As a result, that regular trend or the gradual increase cannot be observed. It increases, but it is not a very steady increase. It is not a very steady increase. It takes somewhat like a zigzag variation due to that. So, we are going to discuss this part, this fact in detail. So, S and P block elements show large range of first ionization energy values. Here I1 represents the first ionization energy. Then do the transition metals. Generally, the ionization energies of transition metals increases slightly from left to right. S and P block elements, there is a particular trend, a pattern is there, but transition elements only slight variation. Slight variation is there. We will see what is the reason for this also. The same factors that influence the atomic size, so the atomic radius, influence the ionization energies. The same factors can be considered. The energy needed to remove an electron from outermost occupied shell depends on both the effective nuclear charge. Effective nuclear charge, that is a main reason. Effective nuclear charge and the average distance, that is a radius, size. When the effective nuclear charge increases, the electrons are more strongly attracted towards the nucleus. When the average distance increases, electrons are further from the nucleus, so attraction decreases. The irregularities in the trend of the first ionization energy in a given period are small, but still readily explained. We can explain them very clearly. There are some irregularities. That means we do not get a very steady increase. Very steady increment cannot be expected. Those irregularities can be explained clearly. Removal of electrons from completely filled subshell. Now, let us see, if you consider ionization energy variation, first ionization energy variation of the elements from lithium to neon, lithium, beryllium, boron, now, according to the variation of the effective nuclear charge, I explained that ionization energy, first ionization energy should increase. But here the variation, it is not a steady increase. There are few irregularities, or at certain places there are increments than the expected amount. That can be explained like this. Now, when you consider lithium S1 configuration, beryllium S2 configuration, the valential configuration you can say NS2 type. When it comes to nitrogen, S2P3 type, and when it comes to neon, S2P6 type. So, these configurations you already know that these are relatively more stable compared to the other configurations. The reason is these configurations have either completely or exactly half filled sub-energy levels. They are relatively stable. If the configuration is stable, then it is quite difficult to break that stable configuration. That means it is quite difficult to remove an electron from that stable electron configuration. So, you need to provide large amount of energy to remove an electron from that relatively stable configuration. Therefore, we can expect some increments, that means more increases or with greater values than expected variation for these elements in group 2, group 15 and group 18. For these elements, there are some big increases or some increments which are greater than the expected variation. So, that is what is explained here. You can see removal of electrons from completely filled subshell, group 2, group 12 and group 18. So, when it comes to those elements, that means here NS2 configuration. When it comes to this group, you have D10S2 configuration, D block, and group 18 NS2 NP6 configuration, and exactly half filled subshell. Group 7, that means D5 configuration is there, that is half filled there, and group 15 S2P3 configuration. In these type of groups, we can expect somewhat larger values than the expected values there. That is due to the relatively stable electron configurations. They are generally stable, so they will require more energy, than thus ionization energy will be higher than the expected value, or there is a deviation from the common trend. So, second period neon with completely filled subshell has the highest first ionization energy, then beryllium with complete S subshell shows first ionization energy greater than the expected, and it even exceeds the ionization energy of boron. Nitrogen with exactly half filled P subshell shows an ionization energy higher than the common trend predicts. We will first try to understand this from a graph. After that, I will explain these points one by one. Now, there you can see the variation of the first ionization energies. This graph plotted using the experimental data. Now you know what is the first ionization energy, and you know that there is a variation across a period, especially when it comes to main group elements. Across a period, first ionization energy increases. That increase is due to the increase of the effective nuclear charge and decrease of the size of the atom, or the distance between the nucleus and the valence shell electrons. So when we plot the first ionization energy across a period, for example from lithium to neon, what we expect is an increment of the first ionization energy, an increase of the first ionization energy from lithium to neon. But there you can see in this pattern certain places, here beryllium, nitrogen and neon. 3 places there are increases than the expected value. That means we expect a steady increase, but these places you can see that increase is somewhat greater than the expected value. The reason is these positions, the elements have relatively stable electron configurations, otherwise it would have been a steady increase. So we would expect, or we could have expected, a steady increase like this, but now there are some places where the increase or the increment is greater. Those places you have elements with more stable electron configurations, right? That is the idea there. That is why when it comes to lithium, when it comes to beryllium from lithium, it is greater than the expected value. Otherwise you will get a variation which is somewhat a steady variation or steady increase from lithium to neon. Now these places there are increases like this due to the stability of the electron configuration. If I just mention that in this diagram, if this is the variation of the first ionization energy, let us say this is lithium, then lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Now here beryllium, there is a value which is quite greater than the expected value. Then boron, carbon, nitrogen also you have value which is quite greater than the expected value. And again when it comes to the last element neon, value is greater than the expected value. So other elements you get that common trend. So that variation is now like this. Now you can see these 3 places, beryllium, nitrogen and neon. In this diagram, these 3 places, the values are quite greater than the common trend. So the reason is stable electron configuration. If you look at the elements in group 1, for example, lithium, then sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium. There you can see on moving down the group, ionization energy decreases. If you analyze the values, you can understand this further. You can see on moving down the group, ionization energy decreases. Across a period, it increases. But when you consider that increase, group 2 element, there you can see group 2 element in the second period, value is almost 900, but here 800. Then 1086, then 1400 here, which is greater than the next element as well. Then neon 2080. So this is clearly shown in this one. Right there you can see beryllium, nitrogen and neon values are quite greater than the common trend, that general increase of the ionization energies. So the reason is the stable electron configuration, and these values are greater than the value of the first ionization energy value of the next element. For example, beryllium first ionization energy greater than boron, nitrogen first ionization energy greater than oxygen, and neon has the highest first ionization energy of that particular period. Then when it comes to the next period, you can see there is a sharp decrease or big drop of the first ionization energy. And when you compare lithium and sodium, same group, sodium first ionization energy is less. So this is the variation of the first ionization energy of the elements. So this can easily be explained from the electron configuration. Lithium configuration is S1, beryllium S2 and boron S2P1, 2S2, 2P1, carbon S2P2, nitrogen S2P3, oxygen S2P4, fluorine S2P5, neon S2P6. So we can say that S2 configuration more stable than S1 configuration in the valence shell, and when it comes to S2P1 configuration and S2P1 configuration also less stable compared to S2. So there is a decrease in the first ionization energy from beryllium to boron. Then S2P1 to S2P3 that increases, that is due to the increase in the effective nuclear charge. After that you can see this value is greater than the expected value. This value is greater than the expected value because of this more stable configuration. Then that is therefore greater than the value of the next element as well, S2P4. So S2P4 and S2P2, these two configurations are less stable compared to the configuration of nitrogen. Here also the configurations of the two elements in left and right of the beryllium, they are less stable compared to the configuration of beryllium. So from the electron configuration also you can easily get this pattern of the first ionization energy or the variation of the first ionization energy. Now this table shows the variations of first, second, third, fourth and the successive ionization energies. I will briefly explain the variation of the second ionization energy as well, the way how it is obtained, the pattern is obtained there. So there you can see these first two columns show first and second ionization energies. Let's see how to compare the variation of the second ionization energy with the variation of the first ionization energy. There you can see these elements, this variation, that is the variation of the first ionization energy. Then when you consider the second ionization energy of these elements, when you consider the second ionization energies of these elements, when lithium is considered, lithium, when the second ionization energy is considered, when the second electron of lithium is removed, that means you are removing an electron from lithium plus ion whose configuration is similar to the configuration of helium, noble gas configuration. Therefore, second ionization energy of lithium is greater than all the other elements in that particular period. First ionization energy, lithium has the least value of the particular period. Second ionization energy, lithium has the highest value. Now lithium has S2 configuration. When you consider beryllium, second electron, when you remove the second electron, you have S1 configuration, beryllium plus ion, S1 configuration. Therefore, that value is less because of that S1 electron configuration, only one electron in the valence shell. So, its ionization energy is the least. Then when it comes to boron, when we remove the second electron of boron, you have S2 configuration, NS2 configuration. That is fairly stable, or that's stable compared to S1 and S2 P1 configurations. And carbon C plus, when you remove the second electron, you have S2 P1 configuration. Nitrogen, when you remove the second electron, S2 P2 configuration. Oxygen, S2 P3 configuration. Now, that same pattern gets repeated, but you have to consider the electron configuration of that ion at that point when that electron is removed. So, S2, S2 P1, S2 P2, S2 P3. Then when it comes to fluorine, when the second electron is removed, you have S2 P4. Therefore, its second ionization energy slightly less than oxygen, S2 P4. Then neon plus ion is there, S2 P5. Then sodium, it is taken above neon because now sodium also has 10 electrons there. Sodium plus, we know that has a very high value because it has the noble gas configuration. Now, when we analyze these values here, you can see first ionization energy of these elements in the second period from lithium to neon. First ionization energy is least in the first group. First ionization energy is highest in group 18, or we can say group 0. Second ionization energy, least value you can see second group element. Highest second ionization energy you can see first group element. So, if you know the particular ionization energy, say first ionization energy, least value in a period goes to the first group element of the period. Highest first ionization energy of a period is there for the group 0, 1 minus 1, group 0 element, or we can say group 18 element. Highest second ionization energy of a period belongs to 2 minus 1, group 1 element. Highest third ionization energy, 3 minus 1, group 3 element or group 13 element. In Roman numerals, group 3A, group 3 element. Highest fourth ionization energy, 4 minus 1, group 4 element or group 14 element, like that. Then least second ionization energy, group 2 element, least value. Least third ionization energy, group 3 element or group 13 element. Least fourth ionization energy, group 4 element or group 14 element. Least fifth ionization energy, group 15 element or group 5 element. So, least value can directly be obtained from that particular ionization number. Highest value, that ionization number minus 1, that means highest second ionization energy 2 minus 1 first group. Highest fourth ionization energy 4 minus 1 3. When you express the group number in Roman numerals, group 3 element. Like that you can easily obtain the highest and least ionization energy values. Now, second ionization energy variation is also quite important. Sometimes you are given certain elements or the series of elements and you are asked to arrange these elements in the increasing order or decreasing order of their first ionization energies or second ionization energies. For that, to compare these variations, it is important to understand the way how that variation is easily obtained from the configuration. We know that variation is mainly due to the change in the effective nuclear charge, but from the configuration you can easily obtain the variation. Here S1, S2, S2P1, S2P2, S2P3, S2P4. There also, when it comes to lithium plus S2 more stable, then S1, S1, S2, S2P1, S2P2, S2P3, S2P4, S2P5, S2P6. So that variation can easily be obtained using the configuration which exists at the point of removal of the electron from that particular species. Right. This is the way how the first ionization energy varies across a period of non-transition elements which belong to S and P blocks, or the elements in S and P blocks. When it comes to transition elements, or D block elements, for example, elements from scandium to zinc, you can see this part of the table shows this variation. That variation is not very regular, but there is a slight increase in the first ionization energy, but it is not a very regular variation. There is a slight increase of the first ionization energy, but it is not a very regular variation. The reason is across the period when you consider elements from scandium to zinc, the nuclear charge increases, but at the same time the last electron is being filled into the penultimate shell, not into the valence shell. Therefore, electron-electron repulsions are quite significant. As a result, the variation of the effective nuclear charge is not that prominent. It is not prominent as in the case of main group elements, S and P block elements. Main group elements, there is a very clear increase of the effective nuclear charge. Here also effective nuclear charge increases, but there is a slight variation. So that is why the ionization energies of these elements, D block elements, the variation is not very prominent, or that particular pattern cannot be identified like this. So these things you will learn in detail when it comes to D block elements in unit 6. Okay students, now we will discuss the next periodic property, electronegativity. So before I explain this, I should say that this is the most important periodic property which you learn in the syllabus. The most important periodic property, because this is very important in the next lesson, bonding, structure and bonding, and also in inorganic chemistry as well as in organic chemistry. Electronegativity is applied throughout the syllabus. So it is very important to have a better understanding about the electronegativity. When it comes to the questions, yes, when you consider the questions from first unit, most of the times you get questions, more questions from those atomic properties or the periodic properties such as ionization energy, atomic radius, like that. But electronegativity is a very important property. Electronegativity. So we will see what is meant by the electronegativity. We know that covalent bonds are formed by sharing electrons. When you consider a covalent bond formed between two atoms of different elements, just consider a very simple example, HCl. When it comes to this molecule, in this molecule, the electron pair being shared is not going to stay, or it's not going to distribute evenly between the atoms. The reason is two different atoms are there. Each atom has its own tendency to attract the bond electrons towards itself, and that tendency differs from element to element. Here you have two atoms of two different elements. So two different tendencies to attract the electrons, bond electrons towards themselves. Therefore, this electron pair will not be distributed evenly. This type of a bond is known as a polar covalent bond. So, the ability of an atom of an element to attract bond electrons towards itself is defined as the electronegativity. The ability of an atom of an element to attract bond electrons towards itself is known as the electronegativity of that atom. This electronegativity is presented, or it was first given by the scientist Linus Pauling, but after that also after that there are few other scientists who defined this electronegativity, and they had given few other values or the scales there, but the most accepted definition and the scale of values was the one presented by Pauling. He gave these electronegativity values or the tendencies of these atoms to attract electrons, bond electrons towards themselves. Those values were quantified. Those were quantified by Pauling using something called bond energies, by measuring bond energies. So, according to the Pauling scale, we are learning the variation of the electronegativity, that very important periodic property, the way how it varies across a period and on moving down the group. Now, electronegativity is defined as the ability of an atom in a molecule to attract electrons to itself. That means bond electrons, the ability of the atom to attract bond electrons towards itself. The greater the atom's electronegativity, greater its ability to attract electrons. So, the one who proposed this idea first is the Linus Pauling. He developed that most widely accepted scale, which is accepted even today. So, that is called the Pauling scale. Now, according to that Pauling scale, the electronegativity increases across a period from left to right when you move in a particular period. When you consider a particular period, across a period from left to right, the electronegativity increases. The main reason is actually the decrease of the size of the atom. When the size of the atom decreases, bond electrons will be more closer to the nucleus. Therefore, electronegativity increases across a period from left to right. At the beginning, when Pauling presented this scale, there was no idea about the formation of bonds by the noble gases, or the atoms of the noble gases. Therefore, some of the noble gases, their electronegativity values were not given there. But later, people discovered that they found that noble gases also react under certain conditions, can form compounds, and also for certain noble gases, they have estimated and calculated the electronegativities, assuming that if they are going to form bonds, what would be the electronegativity, like that. Then in today's tables, we can see the electronegativity values even for the noble gases as well. But we do not consider, in our syllabus also, we do not consider the variation of the electronegativity values of the noble gases. What you need to understand is, noble gases also have non-zero electronegativities. Their electronegativities are not zero, they have electronegativities. That is enough for your study. Now, there is an increase in the electronegativity from left to right across a period. With some exceptions, electronegativity decreases in increase in the atomic number in a group. On moving down the group, it decreases. The reason is again increase in the radius down the group. Noble gases do have small but non-zero electronegativities according to the Pauling scale. In molecules, the difference between the electronegativities of two atoms forming a bond will determine the ionic or covalent character. For example, when you consider a molecule like HCl, this HCl bond, due to the difference in the electronegativity, we know that chlorine is in the right hand side of the period. Its electronegativity is greater than hydrogen. Therefore, this electron pair will be attracted more towards chlorine. So this type of a bond is known as a polar covalent bond because this electron pair is attracted more towards chlorine than hydrogen. In contrast, if you consider a molecule like chlorine, so two atoms of the same element, so the electron pair is evenly distributed. So this type of a bond is known as a non-polar covalent bond. When the electronegativity difference between the two atoms which form the bond increases, then there is a tendency for that bond to become more ionic. So the ionic character of the bond increases when the electronegativity difference increases. So electronegativity of an element varies slightly depending on the environment as well. These things we are learning in detail under unit 2, but as facts, just to have an idea, I will mention the points there: hybridization of the atom, charge of the atom, oxidation number of the atom, and the other atoms bonded to it. Those are the factors which determine the electronegativity of a particular element. That means, for example, if you consider two molecules, say ammonia and HNO3, even though both molecules have the same atom nitrogen, the electronegativity of the nitrogen atom of ammonia is slightly different from electronegativity of the nitrogen atom of nitric acid. The reason is they have different factors. That means they are hybridizations, they are charges, they are oxidation numbers, and the atoms bonded to that nitrogen, they are different. So based on the differences of these facts, the electronegativities of the atoms, even if they belong to the same element, they differ slightly. There is a slight difference. Now you can see the variation of the electronegativities according to the Pauling scale. I will explain how to understand the variation very easily. Now you can see the second period and third period elements. Those are the main elements that you are supposed to know these values there. You should know the value of hydrogen. The electronegativity value of hydrogen is 2.1. When it comes to second period elements, here noble gases are not mentioned there. Fluorine, the highest electronegativity there. Second period elements from fluorine, when moving left from fluorine, you can see difference is 0.5, 4, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.51. So it is very easy to memorize even these values. You can easily memorize these values because you are not supposed to know each and every element. If you know that highest electronegativity is there for fluorine, that is the one with the element with the most electronegativity, highest electronegativity or the most electronegative element. So second period elements, the difference is 0.2. Then third period, chlorine, the value is important. Then third period, when you move from right to left, first two elements difference 0.5, then 0.4, after that 0.3. You can see 2.1, 1.8, 0.3, 1.5, again 0.3 is the difference, 1.2, 0.9. So these values are quite important, especially the value of hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, chlorine, fluorine, oxygen. These electronegative values are important. If you know these things, then it is easy to answer the questions based on these parts, especially when it comes to unit 2 and inorganic chemistry. So they are basically, the variation is a steady increase across a period, and on moving down the group there is a decrease of the electronegativity, but there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions in groups, but we do not consider those exceptions, or we do not study those exceptions in the syllabus. Now when it comes to these D block elements, scandium to zinc, you can see electronegativity values. The variation is not very regular. There are some unexpected variations as well, but in general we can say there is a slight increase up to copper. Up to copper there is a slight increase. In between some elements you can see values are different, that means there are decreases as well. It is not a very regular variation, but up to copper there is a slight increase, but the variation is not very regular. Right. I hope you can understand about the electronegativity there. That is a very important periodic property. The last periodic property we are supposed to discuss is the electron gain energy. Electron gain energy is basically the energy change that occurs when an electron is added to a gaseous ground state atom or ion. Right. When we represent the electron gain energy, first electron gain energy of atom A, I can represent like this: A plus electron, A minus gas. So, the energy change associated with this process is called the first electron gain energy. Similar to this, we can consider the addition of the second electron as well. So, if you consider the addition of the second electron to this, then A minus gas plus electron, A2 minus gas. So, second electron gain energy. Likewise, we can define electron gain energies first, second, third, so forth. For most of the elements in the periodic table, when the first electron is added to their gaseous ground state atoms, that electron gets attracted by the nucleus and therefore energy is released. That means first electron gain energy of most of the elements is exothermic, energy is released. But we know that in the periodic table, even among the main group elements, S and P block elements, some elements have stable, relatively stable electron configurations. When it comes to second group elements, group 15 elements, group 18 elements, those elements have relatively stable electron configurations. When you consider such elements, when an electron is added to a relatively stable electron configuration or element with a relatively stable configuration, that element has a less tendency to gain that electron or attract that electron, because it does not tend to break that stable configuration. As a result, some of the elements with stable electron configurations, we need to provide energy in order to add the first electron. That means first electron gain energy for certain elements is endothermic, especially group 2 elements and group 18 elements. They have endothermic values. That means positive electron gain energies. Exothermic values means negative electron gain energies. So, this electron gain energy is the energy change during this process. If energy is given out, that means energy decreases, a negative value. Final energy minus initial energy, you get a negative value. So, most of the elements you get negative value, but some elements you get positive values. We will see what are the elements where you get positive or endothermic electron gain energies. You can see the energy change that occurs when an electron is added to a gaseous atom, that is called the electron gain energy. For most of the atoms, energy is released when an electron is added. When an electron is added, energy is released. For example, electron gain energy for chlorine is about minus 349 kilojoules per mole. That negative sign indicates that energy is released during the process. Here minus 349. Energy is released, that means minus 349. 349 kilojoules will be released when an electron is added to each atom of a mole of gaseous chlorine atoms. That is the idea there. But there are some elements with positive electron gain energies, especially group 2 elements with NS2 configuration and group 18 elements with NS2 NP6 configurations. They have positive electron gain energies, and in group 15 elements, some elements like nitrogen, the electron gain energy is positive. Other elements in group 15, they have less negative electron gain energies because they have relatively stable configuration. So, these elements, for example, they have positive values because they have relatively stable electron configurations, either completely filled or half filled sub-energy level. So, it is difficult to add an electron because of the electron-electron repulsions due to the stable electron configuration. So, when it comes to second electron gain energy and after that, they are always endothermic. That means this process for most of the elements exothermic, this process and after that second, third, fourth, those electron gain energies, they are always endothermic. They are always endothermic. Right. There you can see some approximate values for electron gain energy there. You can see across a period, say second period elements, exceptions are there, positive values here. With these exceptions, you can see the negative value increases. That means the electron gain energy becomes more exothermic when moving across a period from left to right with some exceptions. With some exceptions. It is not a regular variation. Group 17 elements, they have the highest exothermic electron gain energies. From group 17 also, chlorine has the most exothermic electron gain energy in the periodic table, in the entire periodic table. One would expect fluorine to have a more exothermic electron gain energy than chlorine, but fluorine, since it is a very small atom, the electron density around the fluorine nucleus is quite greater. Therefore, when an electron is added, we experience, so that electron being added experiences a greater electron-electron repulsion, which makes that process quite difficult when compared to chlorine. So, that means addition of an electron to fluorine atom is little bit difficult compared to chlorine. Chlorine, this is the one where you can add an electron very easily. So, most or the highest amount of energy will be released there. There you can see the values again, 328 is the value for fluorine, then the value decreases, the amount of energy released decreases, that is due to the increase in the radius of the atom. The basic trend is it becomes more exothermic across the period, but there are some discrepancies. That is not a very regular increase or very regular variation. Group 2 elements and group 18 elements, they are not mentioned here. Group 18 elements also endothermic values are there. So, that is the variation of the electron gain energy. Electron affinity is the negative value of the electron gain energy, or we can say electron gain energy is minus electron affinity. So, for example, for chlorine, electron gain energy is minus 348, or approximately one can say 300 minus 350. Electron affinity of chlorine is plus 350 or plus 348. So, that is the idea there. So, we use the term electron gain energy, that is the energy change that occurs when an electron is added to a gaseous ground state atom. That is the first electron gain energy. So, electron gain energy variation I explained there. Some discrepancies can be observed. Apart from that, across the period of main group elements, it becomes more exothermic. Down the group, for example, group 1, you can see it becomes less exothermic. See, minus 60, minus 53, like that, the energy release decreases. That is due to the increase in the radius. Right? So, that is the one you need to understand about the electron gain energy and electron affinity. That term also I explained a little bit. So, these are the atomic properties or the periodic properties that you are supposed to know in unit 1. So, I hope you understood properly these properties I explained today, especially electronegativity and ionization energy and electron gain energy. Then we wish to meet you from another session. Until then, have a nice day.